All right, let's talk about something that's poised to really shake up the world of financial innovation here in India. We're going to be demystifying the Interoperable Regulatory Sandbox, or, as we'll call it for short, the IORS. Now, if you're gearing up for any kind of finance exam, you're going to want to pay close attention. This is a really hot topic. And trust me, by the end of this explainer, you're going to have a super solid grip on the what, the who, and the how of the IRS. Let's make sure you're ready to nail any questions that come your way. Okay, so first things first, let's build a solid foundation. To really get what the interoperable part is all about, we have to start with the basics. What on earth is a regulatory sandbox anyway? So, think of a regular sandbox like a safe playground for brand new financial ideas. It's a space where a company can test its cool new product with actual customers, but in a totally controlled and supervised environment. The regulators are watching everything, and they might even ease up on a few rules just for the test. It's all about sparking innovation without putting the whole financial system at risk. And that brings us to the key word here, interoperable. You see, modern fintech products don't live in neat little boxes anymore. You might have an app that does payments, offers insurance, and manages investments all at once. So who regulates that? Well, that's exactly what the IORS is for. It's a single, common window to test these hybrid products that cross into the territory of multiple regulators. And this slide really highlights why this is such a game changer. Imagine before the IORS. If your product had a banking part and an insurance part, you'd be stuck dealing with two completely separate, probably very complicated regulatory processes. What a headache. The IORS just throws that all out and gives you one unified system. It's about fostering innovation across different financial sectors, not just within them. Okay, so we've got this awesome unified system. The next question is pretty obvious, right? Who are the actual players in this ecosystem? Let's start from the top. For a system like this to even have a chance of working, you need all the big financial regulators to be in on it. So let's take a look at the major players who came together to make the IRS a reality. And it's basically a who's who of Indian financial regulation. You've got the RBI, SEBI, IRDI, and the IFSCA. The Pension Fund Authority, PFRDA, is also in the mix. But see that little note there? This is a huge detail, especially for you exam takers. PFRDA can only join in as an associate regulator. Why? Because it doesn't have its own sandbox to begin with. We'll talk about what associate means in a minute, but definitely tuck that little fact away. It's important. So, we know the regulators, but who actually gets to come and play in this sandbox? Who can apply to test their big ideas? The guest list is pretty wide open, actually. We're talking everyone from the big, established financial institutions to those nimble fintech startups. They're really trying to get innovation from everywhere. But here's the most important thing to remember. The final call on who's eligible is always made based on the specific rules of the principal regulator for that particular product. All right, we know the what and the who. Now, let's dig into the how. Let's look at the actual blueprint for how this process works from start to finish. The whole journey is really designed to be pretty straightforward. As an innovator, you kick things off by sending just a single application to the RBI's fintech department. They do a quick first look, then hand it off to whoever is the designated principal regulator. That regulator does the really detailed review and then coordinates with any other associate regulators to check out all the different parts of the product. If you pass the test, you're good to go seek final approvals for a full market launch. And this brings us back to that really critical concept, principal versus associate regulator. It all comes down to a simple question. What is the product's dominant feature? So let's say you have an app where the main thing it does is let you invest in stocks, but it also has a tiny built-in insurance feature. In that case, CBI would be the principal regulator because securities are the dominant feature, and IRDAI would be the associate. The principal regulator's rules guide the whole test, and the associate just chimes in on their specific area. It's a really clear lead and support model. Now for a very practical question, and I bet a lot of you are thinking it. Does it cost anything to get in the door? And here's some great news for all the innovators out there. Nope, there is no fee to apply to the IORS. It's free to knock on the door. Just keep in mind that once you're inside, the principal regulator might have their own fees for the actual testing part, but that just depends on their specific rules. Okay, so it's free to apply, but do you have to wait for a special application window to open up or some kind of specific cohort? No. And honestly, this is another brilliant feature of the whole system. The door is always open. It runs on what they call an on-tap basis, which basically just means you can apply whenever your product is ready to go, any time of the year. Whew, okay, we have covered a ton of ground. So let's bring it all home and do a quick debrief. This is where we're going to pull together all the most important points, the stuff you absolutely have to remember. First off, why is this such a big deal for innovators? Well, the benefits are huge. You get to test your crazy ideas in a safe, low-risk space. You get to talk to all the regulators you need to through just one point of contact. You get direct feedback from them to make your product even better. And the big one, you slash the time it takes to bring these complicated cross-sector products to the market. And now, for everybody with an exam coming up, this slide right here is pure gold. These are the non-negotiable facts you need to know. 1. The iOS is a single window for hybrid products. 2. Applications are on tap all year through an email to the RBI. 3. The Principal Regulator is the boss. Their rules, based on the product's dominant feature, run the test. 4. Remember the PFDRDA exception. It can only be an Associate Regulator. And 5. It's free to apply for the iOS itself. Got all that? Good. So, there you have it. By creating this single, streamlined highway for complex financial products, our regulators have really swung the doors wide open for a whole new level of innovation. And that leaves us with a really exciting question to think about. Now that the path is so much clearer, what's going to be India's next big fintech disruption? That's the IoRS, all explained.